The reason that sustainability has become such a hot topic is that we're temporary, we're here for a day, a week, and we want to think about the impacts of that at the end. It's becoming more and more on the social conscious of the client to be able to think about these things and see how we can get ahead of it to be able to minimize that impact while still giving the guests a great experience.
When it comes to the sustainability or organising sustainability at an event like this, it actually starts at the very beginning. Similar to kind of conception around creative and the production design, you also start considering the sustainability elements. I would say that when it comes to sustainability in action, there's so much that you don't even see that is being done. There's so many kind of choices being made about vehicle types and different suppliers and the RFP process, the way in which our materials are printed and then the materials that we're using, the sorts of hire companies that we've brought the furniture in on, the choices that we've made around food and beverage. All of that happens pre-show. And then when we have all of our lovely attendees come on site, that's when we kind of see the optics of sustainability, and that's surrounding our messaging. Again, very much like the F&B choices, the way that it's mentioned and communicated out in the attendee packs, on registration. One of our main objectives this year is to measure and report on the carbon emissions that are produced at the event. So we are using an online platform called Trace, which was made by a company called Isla. Isla is the leading sustainability body for the events industry in the UK. It takes actual activity-based data, detailed views of where our emissions come from. There are certain things that we were able to implement this year that directly reduce those emissions that I do feel quite proud of. The first is that all of our crew, staff and hospitality meals are red meat free, and that reduces our F&B emissions like up to 60% if we had been serving red meat. So that was an incredible big win. We have 55 suppliers all in all who are providing data post-event around the emissions.
If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Every single part of the supply chain has an impact, and when you start to think about how big that is and how much carbon it takes to run an event, you see how big the problem is. And so having that data really helps us illuminate how big the problem is and then start to figure out the solutions around it.
We have water refill stations set up around the site for people to be able to get water, but also all of the water that's being sold in the bars is cans. The majority of our decor, furniture, foliage is all hired in. We have found homes for all items that would otherwise, in a normal event setting, end up in the bin. We've set up a donation program with 3 shelters nearby, so we're not producing any food waste. We have suppliers who take all of their food waste and turn it into compost on site and then use that for flower beds all down the road of where their venue is. We're keeping as much in circularity that we can reuse for next year, and what we can't reuse for next year is going on to other events and organizations.
One mindset shift that I would really like to see is that I think people get overwhelmed by the enormity of the problem, and so they just don't engage at all.
I would say the biggest takeaway from working with our local authorities and also the full supply chain is that people really want to do it.
Again, you don't have to do everything, but just a few steps here and there, or pick a few things to target, whether it's trying to reduce our water use or our electricity, or trying to rent things instead of purchase things. It doesn't have to be all those things. Just choose 1 or 2 to start with and go from there.